how do we survive in this current pandemic? We started this webinar series around 3 months ago when the pandemic began, and understandably back then many people were more concerned, were more confused. But now some companies have started to stabilize. From the World Economic Forum, the World Bank says the recession is expected to be twice as bad. From The Economist, COVID-19 is here to stay, and people will have to learn how to adapt. In fact, what The Economist is saying is that we didn't really, the world is not experiencing a second wave. It never got over the first. It is astonishing how rapidly the pandemic has spread, despite all efforts to stop it. And the worst is still to come. So that's according to The Economist. If we look at some trends that we've seen so far, the crisis is set to amplify a few of these trends, like these three I've specified here. First of all, there will be a quickening adoption of new technologies. The planet is having a crash course in e-commerce, digital payments, and remote working. Second, global supply chains will be recast, speeding the shift since the trade war began. Firms will seek bigger safety buffers and a critical mass of production close to home using highly automated factories. And finally, the last long-term shift is less certain and most unwelcome, or more unwelcome rather. A further rise in corporate concentration and cronyism as government cash floods the private sector and big firms grow even more dominant. A few more trends. This one comes from the consulting firm McKinsey & Company. They've created an analysis of the probable impact of the COVID-19 on the new normal. And they've published this recently in their report. They've identified potential drivers of future economic performance. Namely, number one, the growth rate of the virus spread and the quality of the public health response, or in essence, the effectiveness of the public health response in controlling the spread of the potential impact of COVID-19. The second factor they've seen is the quality and impact of government policy and action on the economy, or in essence, the speed or strength of recovery, depending on whether government action and initiatives are able to mitigate or prevent a negative economic behavior. Essentially, what it says is, on one hand, are we able to contain the virus very well? And on the other hand, is the government policy working so that the economy will not suffer a terrible catastrophe? And those two will determine the kind of futures that we will see. There are some questions that people are asking these days. First of all, you want to know, given how the pandemic is evolving, what could be plausible futures, for countries, governments, businesses, and societies, right? So what does the future look like? What activities or services, products, or processes must we secure and deliver at what cost? In your business, you look at this and say, what are the things I need to make sure is still happening for my business? Third, how will the lives of people, our customers, employees, business partners, enablers, stockholders change? And what will be the impact on our organization? So how does our ecosystem change, and what will the impact on us? Next, what new ways of working, communicating, or collaborating should we consider that minimizes the risk yet delivers the results that we need? Okay, so we also ask ourselves these questions, and then we ask ourselves, do we merely modify or tweak our business model to adapt to the new realities, or should we change it altogether? And how will this impact economic, regulatory, financial, market, and competitive dynamics? In essence, many companies are still asking these questions, and that's what we are here today. We are here to explore how do we find the answers for this. The key thing we need to ask ourselves is, how prepared is our dealing with this pandemic? And related question there is, what is the new normal for our business? What is the evolving landscape? What will the future look like? And a lot of times these days, it has been 3 months, like we said, a lot of people have already started to talk about the new normal. Many organizations have started to publish already. This is what the new normal will look like. We will see a new world where we won't be going to the malls anymore, etc. I've gathered a few of those insights and I put them here. So according to the New York Times, for example, the new normal is a world of half closures or intermittent lockdowns. So we'll still have those, tightening and opening up of the economy as we encounter wave upon wave of the virus spread. There will be loss of control of one's routines or sense of normalcy and freedom. We have to give up some of our liberties because of what's happening. There will be rise of pro-social behavior. People will start to help each other out, neighbors especially. Living at the moment rather than planning for the long term. So, as the statement implies, we're not looking at, making long-term plans anymore, but just what we need to do for now. McKinsey, on the other hand, identifies the following: a rethinking of social contracts, relationships with each other will change, redefining of the future of work and consumption, so business will change, mobilizing resources at speed and scale. We have to be efficient, we have to be fast, we have to be nimble, and we have to control our costs. And moving from globalization to regionalization. Companies now will not be so much worried about thinking of what the global economy will be, but more of local regionalized economies, buying from suppliers nearby and selling to markets nearby. The Food and Agriculture Organization, on the other hand, predicts essentially what they're saying is our food chains will be disrupted, our food supply will be disrupted, there will be a lot of wastage and loss. So, and this will greatly affect particularly the developing economies. So, it's a cause for concern. So we need to start thinking about, maybe planting our own vegetables or fruits or whatnot, right? Or even, running our own, backyard, garden operation. For us to understand all of this, we've created a simple framework, So it's a 4-step strategy framework to help us navigate this pandemic and the confusion of this pandemic. So to help me explain this better, I'm using a metaphor from the Avengers. So we'll talk about each of these 4 strategies in the context of the 4 types of characters in the Avengers. Okay. The other way to look at it is also looking at it in terms of preparation for the new normal. In essence, we're talking about 4 essential steps: an internal review, an external assessment, an adjustment of strategy, and an execution of a new strategy. I'll go through each of these steps in detail. Okay, the first one, suiting up. Suiting up means preparing for the task ahead. Think about Tony Stark, and suiting up as Iron Man, ready to defend the Earth. Think Michael Jordan wearing the number 23, Bulls jersey. I know I just watched, The Last Dance. Then dominating basketball. So that's what suiting up means, getting ready for battle. We are dressing up for the occasion. So, we dress up for the task at hand. Suiting up means getting ready for battle, getting ready for the task that we're going to do. Here are a few pointers that will help you prepare to suit up. First, as an individual, take care of yourself first. Before we take care of others or the business, we should take care of ourselves. Manage any stress or anxiety that we feel. You may want to label your emotions. Are you scared, worried, anxious? Put distance between yourself and them, these feelings, so that you can make a conscious decision about how to act in a way that's in line with your values. Acknowledge uncertainty. Directly address the issue. Acknowledge that things seem chaotic and unpredictable at the moment. Focus on what you do control. Encourage and model self-care. Sleep, exercise, and good nutrition are proven stress killers. Okay, so that's how you start with yourself. Next, as a leader, how do you prepare as a leader? First, give your team a sense of safety and security. Now, many are concerned about what could happen next and will need to be reassured. Use all the sources you have, especially human resources. They might have ideas that could help. Talk to the team and be clear about the issues, challenges, and next steps. Be genuine, mean what you say, and act accordingly. But then, the next question is, how do you prepare the business for the uncertain future? You know, and for that, we have the following. First, repurpose your team. Understand market and business environment. What's changing? Will this be permanent or temporary? How should you change your products or service offers? Right? And fourth, also, do you need to train up the team to meet challenges? More of these. Assess your finances. Check the business financial health, the cash flows, receivables, debts, and payables. Assess the risks to the business. What will happen if the status quo does not return? Not just for the business, also for customers, suppliers, and distribution partners. Then take care of existing and key customers. Help society, community, and the public. Share resources, time, and talent. Start modifying your operations. Revisit your business model. Prepare for the new future. Here is a simple yet handy, powerful model I use to talk about the business models or strategy. It's a square, it has 4 sides or dimensions. These represent categories that help focus any organization's plans and actions in alignment with the profile and expectation of their customers. Any organization, regardless of size, complexity, products or service, private or public, should be able to distill and simplify their strategy or operating model into this framework. This is actually a very simple framework that we use even for complicated organizations, and the categories are very easy to understand. Location talks about where do you compete. Products talk about how we compete. Markets talk about who are your customers, and need talks about what your customers want. Regardless of how complex your strategy is, whether you're running a bank or a logistics company, a pharmaceutical company, whether you're in the services industry, you're in the hospitality industry, your products, your services will fit this strategy square. Okay? And when we say compete, we mean do business, operate, or serve customers. The left side of this square, you will see decisions and actions that you make or initiate. On the right side of the square, the right half, are decisions or actions that customers take. So you need to assess what is your strategy square at the start of the year. That's the first step. What is your strategy square now? In the past 6 months, from January to June, what has happened to your business? Take a snapshot at the start of the year and today. What has changed? What changes do you see, and how do you adapt? Let me give you an example. This one comes from Starbucks. Until just before the pandemic happened, this was a stable strategy square for Starbucks. Okay, they had physical stores. They were selling coffee as a personal experience. That ambiance in their stores. They and what their customer wanted. That they wanted to make their own choices. They wanted a place away from home or office. A second home, a second office, a second living room. Their markets were people with extra funds, oftentimes the B or C segment. But then lockdown rules forced the closure of stores. That hits their location. No stores, no personal experience, no ambiance. That hits their product. People want to stay away from public places, stay home. That hits the need side of the square. And then many people are out of jobs, limited income, a lot of time, but no extra money. So that now impacts their market. So what happens to the Starbucks strategic square is this, right? So the challenge for Starbucks is, should it wait for ECQ to end? No, it has. And we already have GCQ, and it already has into partial operations. And for things to go back to normal, or should it start rebalancing or restabilizing its businesses now? In fact, if you look at it, Starbucks Global has started to change its strategy because of the pandemic. Many of its stores are already adapting to the delivery mode or the pickup business rather than the stay-in-store consumption business. So even Starbucks is changing because of the pandemic. This is also the same question we ask, for all of us. When you have suited up as an individual and a leader, and have started to prepare your organization in the face of uncertainties, then you have taken the first big step forward. But you're not yet out of the woods. You only know where you are. When you've built your strategy square, then you have a starting point, and then you know where you are.